Oi, oi.
Morning, Ben.
Morning. We officially have a new regular.
Yes.
Hi, Vicky. Your mic
Hi,
is off, I guess. There you go.
Hi, Vicky.
hi. How are you guys?
Good, good.
Good. Good, good, good.
Great.
How do you say good morning in Bulgarian?
Добро утро.
Wow, I almost guessed it, but I was like not sure.
The
It's
brotro.
okay.
Okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
Доброе утро.
Yes.
In,
Yes.
in Russia, доброе утро.
Yeah. It's close to Russia.
And I think Polish and Serbian, Bosnian is dobro jutro.
Доброе утро. Yeah.
Dobro jutro. So how you been?
Good. Good. Yeah.
Nice.
It was busy week.
Oh yeah? How come?
Because we have a national holiday in the middle of the week, so half of my team working. So it was.
Ah,
I
holiday
was the.
assignment.
Yeah.
Come again? Stressful?
Sorry. What?
It was stressful or what's going on?
It was stressful and a lot of work.
Okay. You said it was a national.
National
Yeah.
holiday.
3rd of March.
Uh-huh. What do you celebrate? What kind of holiday? Like Independence Day or what is it?
Wait.
Google it.
It's National Day of Freedom because in the 3rd of March, uh, we are not in. I don't know how
You
to
left
say it.
Russia
Liberation Day.
All right.
from the
So
big.
it's the Independence Day.
Mm-hmm. Liberation of Bulgaria.
Okay, damn those Russians.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think we are not having too many people. Ah, Ezra is here after a long time.
No way.
All right.
What up, Ezzy?
Ezra,
Hello, guys.
welcome. Welcome after a long time.
Yes, sorry.
Been a while. I saw that you saw the message. But I wasn't sure because we haven't seen you in a long time.
Ages.
Yes. So sorry. I
You've been hiding, huh?
no.
Hmm.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So how have things been, Ezra? You've been taking a course in digital marketing,
Ano, a program regarding on online marketing.
online marketing. Yes, the same digital marketing.
Same thing, different toilet, huh?
So how is it going? Is it coming useful?
Currently, not much.
Really?
Because we're still working out about the the fund for the advertisement
Okay.
because
So you
currently
You get
I'm using the FB platform for that. So I'm working out on the funds.
You need funding.
So yes.
Got it.
Mm. So we
Yep.
should
Same.
probably right. So, Vicky, what do you do? What are you into? I'm trying to go back, search the messages when you did your introduction, but it would be easier if you would just say, I'm sorry, I forgot.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm working in logistic financial department of one of the largest non-alcoholic company. Here in Bulgaria, we are shared service center, and we do the logistic for other part of Europe. And my department, um, the job is to be sure that everything is delivered and everything will be invoiced correctly to the customer. And if the customer has a complaint about something that empties his return on production, to be credited about this correctly.
All right. So, logistics. All right. So, not connected to anywhere, not connected to funding or accounting,
Not.
or funding or finance.
No.
Okay. All right. Steve says he is not able to make it today. All right. So, Ben, since you've been working on funding, financing the deals, why don't you start and tell us what you're trying to do?
Okay. Yeah, I've been basically learning how to do bonding and rapport and calling down my phone numbers on my phone basically um, to see if anybody knows anybody. So I'm basically asking kind of direct and indirectly at the same time if um, those people I'm calling have any kind of capital that they want to um, invest or put in somewhere that they basically have no idea where to put. So as soon as I get an investor, I'll sit down with them and do my next step, which will be um, seeing if I'm a fit and if they're a fit for me. So as soon as both are a fit, then we'll start putting it into onto paper and finding an attorney and making it basically legit. So so far
Right.
I haven't gotten that far. So I'm still calling and trying to find people, and I've got good responses and stuff. Some people know some people, some don't, and those that do, I'm still waiting for an answer and stuff. So, but the point is just keep calling basically. So I need to put in more numbers daily and
Mhm.
uh, the phone calls basically. So
Mm.
yeah.
All right. So let me just summarize. What you're trying to do is, in simple terms, you are trying to go through your friends and family and probably anybody else. I don't know if you're going through strangers. Are you doing
Mostly
that?
most everything on my phone. So I'm finding numbers that really don't matter, and so I'm deleting those. But mostly friends, family, coworkers, and such.
All right. So it's mostly about known people, people that you feel are in your circle, people whom you feel are in some way related to you, people whom you think will be easily accessible.
Right.
correct?
Right.
Right. So you're calling them up. You're calling to see if they would be interested or they would know someone who is interested. So you're basically networking with people and looking for funds which they want to invest, or surplus funds which they may have that they want to invest, or uh, someone known to them might want to invest.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is going indirectly. If I'm going straight to if they know somebody, basically. So and from asking that question, I'll find out if they're interested or not.
Mm,
So when they're interested, they say, "Oh, that sounds good," and they start asking more questions. And
mm,
from there, I explain a little bit of what I do and such and such. So
right.
yeah.
Okay. Ezra, what are you doing to look for funds? To find funds, what is your step?
Uh, Actually, I'm not collecting funds from other people, but I'm doing a service.
Okay.
Currently, uh, what do you? Actually, as I tell you my story, uh, told you my story. Um, I'm interested in real estate, right? So what I did is, from my mother's connection, because I have no background in real estate. What I do is, from my mother's connection, I ask for her colleagues, her other um other um yes, other colleagues to, so I can serve them my service, like marketing their listing, so they can lessen their work. So all I'm doing is just marketing. So they do the sales. Then I think I'm building a connection to them, because from from my mother, so I can connect to them. So how,
Okay.
how should
So
I
let
explain?
me try and summarize what you just. I will put in a little background about Ezra as well. Ezra's mother is a real estate agent, a broker, right? Ezra,
A property consultant on a
property
specific
consultant.
domain.
Okay, that's another way of putting it. So she is a property consultant, and what you are doing right now is you are trying to promote property that she has in her portfolio. She or her friends or her co-workers have in their portfolio.
Yes,
Correct? All right.
yes,
And so Ezra is actually taking a course on digital marketing or online marketing, and trying to build his skill in uh, in promoting property online. Correct?
yes.
All right. So where are you stuck on funds? Why is your concern about funds?
Uh, as I told you last time, that I am planning to build a business, a real estate online platform business. So what I'm doing is, I'm owning a skill for marketing, because I realized that the real estate marketing websites is not owned by, a real estate brokers or agents, but they are just a business platform that for real estate, so they can list their properties, correct? Like, so I'm thinking about some kind of building a real estate platform website that can, just like, as I told you, like e-commerce style, that, you know uh you can tap different countries just one website. So all I'm doing is to connect to different real estate brokers. Also, I'm trying to connect to uh, some lawyers also from. Actually, it is one of my plan. Connect some lawyers, appraisers, some you know learning about real estate rules or regulations in our country, and also planning to study the other countries as well. But for now, I'm focusing on my country, since in my country, no foreigner can purchase a land. So all they need to do is to marry or to have a relative which is a Filipino here. So what I'm thinking is, what if other foreigner can invest or can make a group on one platform to buy a land here in the Philippines or the other country without too much hassle. That's what I'm thinking. But I think I'm too. That's really a long journey. So for now, I'm focusing on developing a skill and also connecting to like, different people regarding who is related on real estate.
All right. So let me summarize again. What you're trying to do is you're trying to build a platform. You're trying to become the Uber of real estate. So you can bringing everything together onto the same platform. Different properties, different services like legal and other stuff, probably development or things like that. And you're bringing in all these services into a one-stop shop, which is going to be your online platform. And you are now looking at uh, funding this project of building this online platform. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. Excellent. Now, there are two kinds of Vicky. You have some plans or something that you're working on in real estate or any other ventures for that matter. Anything that requires funding.
Yeah, about read statement. Yeah.
All right.
Well,
All right, Vicky. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
oh, it's okay. Can you hear me now? Very good. And is
Yes.
it
Yes.
better?
It's fine. It's
Okay,
fine. Yes.
cool. Cool. Sorry about that. So I'm more about to buy apartments for um for me and to go out to the not track. So yeah, for now it's only this, not so much of investments and funding and yeah.
Okay. So what you are trying to do is you're trying to buy an apartment to rent out.
Yeah,
All right. This is not for you to live in.
no,
This is okay. So this is you are basically looking at buying an apartment for cash flow.
yes.
All right. So Ben is doing just the same. He is looking at buying apartments, or he is looking at investing in real estate for cash flow. Ezra, on the other hand, is going into business ventures, which should generate cash flow. Vicky is also into the same as Ben. So you are trying to buy an apartment which you can rent out for cash flow. So there's different the requirement is cash flow, but the goal is cash flow, but the requirement is now capital.
That's right.
Right. So before I before I tell you what I am doing, or before I tell you what I'm working on, uh, I want to connect this with the game. How do you think we work this strategy in the game? What do we do in the game?
We we borrow money.
We borrow money,
We
but
use leverage.
yes, before we borrow money, we have some kind of cash flow, we have some kind of income, and we borrow money leveraging on the income. So that is one way of borrowing money. But what do we do with the money that we borrow? Do we invest into cash flow, or do we invest into assets which have the potential to bring us capital gains?
Yeah. The first one that you taught us is, first you need to determine what you need, either capital gain or cash flow, right? So our first goal is for the capital appreciation.
Correct. So when we look at our strategy in the game, the first thing that we look for is this asset going to bring me capital gains or not? Because the first half of the game in the rat race is what we look for. What we look for is capital gains. So if we have capital gains, if we make money in the first half, in the second half, you can take this money and invest it so you can generate cash flow with the cash that you have already collected. So this is one of those strategies where you actually trade, you are flipping, you are buying and selling assets. It doesn't have to be just real estate, it could also be small businesses. So if you have played the small deals, and I'm sure every one of us has played the small deals at some point of time. So if you look at the small deals, if most people, most players still play the small deals when they start playing the game. So every one of those small deals you can sell, or um, you can divest them, you can liquidate them for profit. So when you liquidate them, you get money which goes into your capital gains, which is your cash, and you take that cash and you build or buy businesses, property, which have the potential of bringing you cash flow. Now, very interestingly, this is possible in real life as well. This is possible in real life, but you have to be very active and very observant and very alert in making those deals. Now, recently, I've been working on a deal which has the potential to bring in uh, a lot of capital gains for me, but it involves five different parties. So there are two sellers and there are four buyers. So, and in all of this, the only real investment that I have is time. I'm investing time into it. I'm getting the combination right for all these four people together, four buyers together into two sellers. Out of that, so it involves five people, and out of that, one is a buyer and a seller. So he is selling his property and buying something else. So there's another who is selling property only, and he wants to buy and build later. And then there are three other people who are looking at buying. Now I'm taking this these two available sellers or their property, their asset, and I'm combining them into a deal where everyone is going to be happy. So I'm solving the problem of five people and making capital gains in the process. And really, it doesn't cost me anything more than my time. But it is an investment in time. So it is possible to make capital gains through the same strategy that we use in the game, and it can be done with zero cash. So this is one way of generating capital gain. This is one way of generating cash. The other way of generating cash, now this is the faster way of generating cash. Why? Because my investment is zero. My cash investment is zero. My cash investment is zero. It's only my time investment. And since I am investing zero cash, my return on investment is infinite. So I'm getting the highest return on investment based on, but of course, for this, there is a requirement of being good at sales. There is a requirement of being good at problem solving. There is a requirement of being good at decision making. There is a requirement of being able to work with other people. There is a requirement of building a solution where where there is a lot of chaos. So it requires a lot of patience, it requires a lot of effort and willingness and perseverance to follow and build the solution out of this. So this is, Kiyosaki says, I don't remember the book, but in one of the books he says, and this is very commonly known, you can make money by solving other people's problems. So if you solve a problem for someone, then you will make money. If you solve a problem which is common for many people, you will make more money. Now, what Ezra is trying to do is to solve a problem. And that problem is that if someone is interested in real estate, they can't see everything together in one place. They can't get all the services to make the deal together at one shot. So he's trying to make a solution. He is trying to solve a problem by bringing everyone or every service and every aspect of real estate into the single platform. Now, Uber tried to solve the same problem, a similar problem, where they brought all the taxis together onto, or all the taxi services together onto their platform and helped people find the nearest taxi to them, the taxi that is nearest to them and is willing to take up their ride. This is the problem that Uber solved for most people, and this is the reason why Uber is a huge company. As many other companies followed. They've all made money because they have solved one common problem, which was common for a lot of people. So you can either solve. I think we've discussed this in one of the older sessions. You can either solve a small problem for many people or one big problem for one person, and you could still make the same money. So that's volume of there's one is a volume business, the other is a niche business. So if you get into a niche, which is a small number of audience and a very specific problem, you give them a customized solution, it will work to generate cash for you. Or if you take a small solution and give it to a large number of people who have the same problem, then you would still make money on that. So this is one way of generating capital. Solve a problem, but for solving a problem, you need to bring in all those skills. Now, remember, if you cannot solve a problem, now Ben is trying to have short-term rentals. Ben is trying to build a business with short-term rentals. Ben, can you identify and tell us what is the problem that you're trying to solve?
The problem I'm trying to solve is um, housing for people that need it, basically. So, in that sense, that's I'm not sure how to explain it perfectly, but people need some place to stay, you know, while they need to do what they have to do, like work, family, visit a hospital, a member that's sick, or basically working at a hospital from traveling basically from another place. So basically, it's housing, as I would say.
Right.
Is it
So
also is it also a transient house? There tran is that a transient house, Ben?
What's that?
A like a lodging, you know, lodging house for um for those who are travelers, or because there's a kind of there's there's
all good. Yes, Ezra, please continue. Sorry, you
I
were
think
rudely interrupted by the Zoom.
no problem. I think what Ben is trying to make is like a transient house, or like a dorm type, right? That can stay for a couple of days, like 3 days, 7 days, right? For
Yeah,
just a short
yeah,
time.
yeah. Under 30
Yes.
days, basically. Under 30 days is the whole point. But when I get myself up and going, more than 30 days will also work at the same time. So my focus will be under 30.
Mm. Because that is what we call here a transient house, which is you can for those travelers who wanted to stay for a couple of days, for just a
Right,
week, or for
right.
3 days. Yes, and I think that's a really great investment, because for those who are for those travelers, or sometimes though for those who are for a meantime, uh they are fixing their house, then they need to have a stay which is much cheaper than hotels, right?
You're right. So that's one option. I mean, there are many requirements like that. So in India, where I am, we have a lot of expatriates, a lot of people working in other countries who have to come back on vacation. So annually, every year they come back for a month or so. They come back, they stay in their hometown, and they go. So most of the people, they have a house which is locked for 11 months, and they open up only for just 1 month and live in it, and then they go back to their workplace, work country. So when we have a lot of people who work abroad, work in different other countries, and I think it's the same case in Philippines as well. So you have a lot of people working abroad and coming back once in a year or once in 2 years for vacation. Because I find a lot of people from Philippines in Dubai, in UAE where I was before. So this so one of the short-term rentals business over here where I am right now is for people who are coming back on vacation, coming back to, so most people don't come back on vacation, they go for vacations. But here, where we have a lot of expatriates, people working abroad, we have people coming back for vacations, and it doesn't make sense for them to have a house that they will utilize only for 1 month and keep it locked up for 11 months. So a lot of people would prefer to have, and plus they might actually be from a place where they don't have easy access to the airport. They could have difficulty reaching, making these travels from their home. So rather than owning a home, or rather than going to their own home, they would prefer to stay in a short-term rental facility, something which is furnished and well set up, because every time you come back to your own home after 11 months, you find it filled with dust and dirt and muck and all of that. So you spend a lot of time, maybe about a week, trying to clean it up before you can actually stay there in peace. So a lot of problems associated with. So uh, that's one of the problems that I see in where I am. That will help. That will that people might need help with. People might need a solution for. Ben, what he is trying to do is he is putting people. He is putting up people who want to make a hospital visit, who want to live close to their workplace, who want to live close to their study, their educational institutions. So anyone who is from a different place but wants to live close to their destination for a short period, less than 30 days. Probably you're taking treatment in a hospital. Probably you are doing a project. You're a consultant working with a project somewhere in a different town than where your office is. So you want a facility that is ready and set up. So these are all the opportunities, these are all the problems that Ben is trying to solve. Plus, of course, anything that is less than 30 days, 3 days to 30 days, travelers, visitors, I mean, people who are on, people who want to visit destinations. So all these people come into Ben's, uh, come into the people that Ben wants to support. Ben wants to help them with his solution. Right, Ben?
Right. I also want to add that what you said about finding capital when it comes to helping people getting their problems solved is also something I have to work on. And I was like, I talked to one of the numbers that I called was actually an old coworker of mine, and the problem solving thought came in because he has a house that he has to sell because they want to move closer to his job and stuff like that, and they found a problem with the house that the second floor was illegally fixed, basically, and they didn't have no papers on it. And they were like, they were hoping to get this much amount of value for the house, but they're not sure if they're able to sell it because of that issue in the second floor. So my brain started thinking like, how can I help these guys? And I'm not sure how, because I've never done it before, but I know I'm in a group, the courses I took for this Norwegian real estate investment group. So I just put out an answer, no, a question in there. So I'm not sure if they answered me, because I'm still lousy at finding finding the like working on Facebook is also another thing. Trying to find all the things that are inside the chat and the groups and stuff is so confusing as well. So yeah, I'm just trying to see if I can help people at the same time. I'm trying to get better at that, get the skills up and ready, so to say. So yeah.
Right. So working on helping people. This is the primary, the very basic, the foundation of any business. Because if a problem doesn't exist, then you cannot solve it. If a problem doesn't exist, then you cannot make money from the solution. The solution has to be for a problem. Now, I remember this Tom Cruise movie, which was, I think, Mission Impossible, first Mission Impossible movie. So it said, in our effort to, every hero needs a villain. Every hero needs a villain. So in our quest for a hero, or in our quest for a villain, we created Chimera or something like that. So that's how but the line that I wanted to highlight is, every hero needs a villain. So if you want to be a hero, you have to find your villain. You have to find that problem that you think you can solve for someone. So the first thing that you need to find is your villain, not your capital, not your not funds, not your solution also. The first thing that you need to find is your villain. You need to know what you are going to solve. What is the problem that you're going to solve? You need to know, where is this trouble that is waiting for your solution. So when you know that, that is the first step of getting to help people. Because without a problem, there is no solution that is required. So once you have the problem, the next thing is to look for what is the best available solution today. You don't go looking for the solution by yourself to begin with. The next thing that you do is to survey, to understand what is it. You will hear me say these words again and again: survey, market research, analysis. All this is going to help you in your decision making process, because if you do not do your homework, you cannot have the skill. Everyone has talent. Everyone has talent of different sorts. Everyone has different kinds of talent. And every talent can only be useful if you build a skill around that talent that can control that talent. I think, Ezra, we spoke about this sometime back in our private
Yes.
conversation,
Yes.
right? So, if you are a singer, you need to train to be a good singer. It is not good enough if you are talented to be a singer. It has to be converted. Your singing has to become a skill that you can control, that can control the talent. So if you do not practice, if you do not train, if you do not take advice, if you do not fix your shortcomings, you cannot become a good singer. Just a good voice and the ability to hold a note will not help you. You could be a great artist, you could have a great talent for drawing, but if you do not train yourself, you cannot make yourself useful, you cannot build your technique. So every talent needs training, every talent needs to be developed into a skill. Now, financial education, working with financial models, working on finance is it is very important to get trained. Now we have a talent. Every one of us has a talent. Every one of us is here week after week. We are here very regularly. We are here every week learning, discussing, sharing, experiencing different aspects of financial education. Now, after all this, if there is no action, this is not going to help. This is not going to develop into a skill. We are very glad that we have the game, which is helping us to use these principles repeatedly in the game, in under different circumstances, under different profiles, under different portfolios, because the game gives us different portfolios every time. So we are very lucky that we have this game where we can apply what we learn. But it is not enough to just do it in the game, because doing it in the game, applying it, and building the skill over there just uh, makes us a consultant to the game. We can talk about financial education quite regularly, but it is not going to help us in real life. So, to help us in real life, the next step is to step in and solve other people's problems. Now, solving other people's problems also takes practice, because it is not good enough if we have the best solution and cannot communicate. The most important thing for us, if we have a problem, if we have a solution to a problem, is to be able to communicate. Now, for that communication to happen, it is also important to know what the other person has already experienced. If you do not know, if we do not understand who we are speaking to, then it is very difficult to focus our communication to the exact interest of that person. Now, the reason why we are all here together is because we have one common thread that connects us, and that is the game of Robert Kiyosaki, which is Rich Dad Poor Dad Classic. I don't think any of us here have played the board game. We have not come together because of the board game. Now, this is just the introduction. Now, fortunately, we have progressed far from just playing the game together. This is not a club where we just come together and play games, but we have now progressed from being a club of playing games to being a club that learns and grows and progresses together, even a small group. Now, the reason why we're able to do this is because we have been able to communicate with each other. So communication is very, very important. Now, if we have to communicate, we have to know who the other person is, what would be interesting to the other person, what is the intent of the other person, what is the goal, what are they looking for, how do they understand what we are trying to propose. If we have to know how they understand us, then there has to be some basic uh, ability built around our communication. And the most important thing over there is to understand what is already available for this problem in our market. So the first thing is to know what is already being done. The next thing is to know, is what is right now being done sufficient? Is there a supply which is equal or more or close to equal to the demand? Now, if there are three kinds of markets, there is an unsaturated market where supply is less than the demand. So there is a provision, there is a scope for more players. So we can choose to participate just like any other player. So if the market is unsaturated, if there is not enough supply and there is a lot of demand, then we can participate like any other player and compete for market share. The next is a saturated market, which is a stable market. There is not enough room for more players unless you bring in innovation. So let's take the market of rubber slip-ons. So everybody's got rubber slip-ons. So let's think about rubber slip-ons. Rubber slip-ons is a cheap product. You would find them everywhere. They haven't changed much in many years. So it becomes a saturated market. There is not enough room for new players to come in. Rubber slip-ons haven't changed much. Or say pencils. It's the same. It hasn't changed much. Enough players, enough supply to meet the demand. So that's pencils or rubber slip-ons. If you wanted to enter this market, what is the first thing that you would do? It's already a saturated market. Here is where you bring in innovation. You bring in innovation and you say, okay, I bring in a pencil as normally every pencil is hexagonal. It's got 6 sides, or is round, no sides. I bring in a square pencil because I've already seen triangular pencils. I've seen triangular pencils, so I bring in square pencils, and then I run a study among a few orthopedicians or something like that, and then I bring out a report which says square pencils are actually good for your good handwriting, or square pencils are good in the long run because they support you with I don't know, some kind of crap. You say the bones are more relaxed. You see a lot of these kind of studies, and the reason why there are these kind of studies is because someone is looking at creating a product around those studies, and most of the time it is the product first and then the study, not the study first and then the product based on that study. And this is not known to the common man. Or we have a toothpaste here in India which has got salt in it. There's another toothpaste which has got charcoal in it, active charcoal they call it. So active charcoal is expected to be helpful for whitening of your teeth. So all these are innovations to distinguish your product in an already saturated market. Then the third kind of market is very dangerous. The third kind of market is an oversaturated market. An oversaturated market, the supply is more than the demand. How does this happen? Typically you would see an oversaturated market when recession hits. When recession hits, supply is already in a saturated market. If recession hits, supply is already at its peak. Now, when supply is at its peak, a recession hits, it decreases, it eats, it kills the demand. It kills the demand because people lose their purchasing power. Currency loses value, people lose their purchasing power, and ultimately, what happens? Supply stays high, demand drops dead. And just because of that, you have an oversaturated market. And this can happen not only in products, it can happen in housing, which is real estate, it can happen in any industry. Now, when the pandemic hit, we had an oversaturated airline market because the airlines couldn't survive with the reduced demand. So it can hit any industry. It hit the tourism industry because there were not enough takers and the tourism sector was oversupplied. It hit the petroleum industry because there were a lot of cars, but nobody was willing to take them out and go anywhere because of all the restrictions. So this oversaturation typically happens when you have a sudden, now this, if you look at the stock market, it's the same case. Bad news hits and everybody is selling. It becomes oversupplied. The stocks are dumped. We call it dumping. The only other thing that you dump is garbage. So suddenly you have a lot of stock which has turned garbage to you, and you have to dump it. This is how these are the three kinds of markets. Now you have to understand what kind of market are you in. If you are in an undersaturated market, if your supply is less than your demand, then you can be a regular player just like everybody else. You can follow the existing business models. If you are in a saturated market, you have to bring in innovation and compete for market share. If you are in an oversaturated market, the first thing you need to do is to liquidate your stock. The next thing you need to do is reevaluate your position and decide whether you want to stay or exit. Now, when you are exit in an oversaturated market, that's called a distress sale. If you let's not go into distress sale at the moment, but you already know what a distress sale is, and you will find a lot of these assets, distressed assets, make you a lot of money because they can be bought in profit. Now we're bringing back those principles that we've discussed in the game. You have to buy in profit, and this is the best time to buy in profit when the asset or the owner of the asset is a distress. This asset is in a distress sale. Now, if you've noticed the game cards, distress sale doesn't happen because the asset is performing bad. It happens because the owner is performing bad. This is the most interesting thing which most people can't get around. One of those things is the if you've noticed some of the game cards, if you've noticed some of the deal cards, you'd see owner has personal finance problems. Owner has trouble with income tax, and he is trying to sell the asset. The asset is good. There's great cash flow. There's great value, and he is trying to sell the asset to recover, to fund his problems. So this is something that happens in real markets. And the deal that I spoke about earlier in the first Zoom session, this is something related to that. Distressed properties, distressed assets, distressed owners, owners who are not in town, finding it difficult to manage and wanting to liquidate their assets. All these are indications of distress. Now, if you want to understand the indication of distress, then you need to know your market really well. You need to know what kind of market am I in right now? What does distress mean in this market? So if you know what distress means in your particular market, in your specific market, then you know how, then you can start working on how you can probably make money probably make capital gains out of it, probably make a purchase. You can buy in profit. Now, this is very important. This is because this is the next step. The next step is, once you know your market, then and you know your then and you see your asset of value, then you know what is it that you then you have to figure out what is it that you need to do with this asset. What is it that you need to do with this purchase that you're making? This is where you can buy in profit. This is where you can look for capital gains with zero investment. Because most of us, when we want to raise capital, and this is the advice that most of us get, go to your friends and family, go to your known people, go to relatives, look at what you already have, leverage on your existing income, uh, mortgage your home to generate funds. All this, yes, these are options, but look for options by studying your market. And studying your market will bring you those opportunities where you invest zero. Be active in your market. Look at, explore every avenue. Now, if you've noticed on the club chat, all of you have noticed on the club chat, Ersin and me, we've been discussing about sending out messages in WhatsApp, bulk WhatsApp messages. Now, the reason I want to do that is so I can promote some of the property that I'm dealing with, some of the assets that I'm dealing with. Plus, I can do some marketing activity for my retail business that I'm just starting. This is great for, okay, we are running, it's 4 minutes, four and a half. Okay, so when I look around, I see opportunities which I was looking at Facebook and trying to make posts. I was posting my uh, assets, and what I found, I was posting my deals on Facebook, and what I found was every time I post something in a in a forum that has got a lot of people, I think I post thinking it's a great opportunity because there are a lot of people in there. There's about 150,000 people in a group, and I make a post in that group, and what happens? Within seconds, my post is not on top anymore. It just vanishes. Even I myself can't find my post. I don't know where it goes. Okay, great target audience, because the audience that I'm looking for through this post is exactly where I have my asset, exactly where I have the deal. But what is the purpose if nobody can see it? The moment I make the post, if somebody is live and waiting for my post, yes. If somebody is chasing my post, yes. If somebody has liked my Facebook page, yes. But otherwise, gone. So I had to come up, I had to think, I had to come up with a different solution where I would be sure that my uh, communication, my marketing communication would be effective, would reach people. So I thought of WhatsApp, and then I did a manual process. See, this is what I did next. The moment I thought of WhatsApp, I did not go looking for bulk WhatsApp software. The next thing I did was I took a day, I formatted a message, which I thought would be effective, and I sent it out to 285 people. I sent it out to 285 people. Mind you, it was a manual process. I had to do 5 at a time. So I did 5, then I did 5, then I did 5. And before I did each of these 5, I had to save these numbers in my phone book. So I had to save 285 numbers because I was doing a manual process. I had to save 285 numbers on my phone, and I hit 5 at a time with the message and the pictures that I wanted to share. And surprisingly, every one of these messages was delivered. I got uh, about 12 responses out of 285, 284. So out of 285 messages that I put out, I got 12 responses, out of which 2 responses or 3 responses, I don't remember exactly, but 2 or 3 responses were totally negative. And then I interacted with them. I said, okay, I'm sorry this has caused inconvenience to you, but I thought this would be, you would be interested in some profitable deals like these. Because I believe you have registered some kind of interest in certain areas that we handle. And it was true. It was, I had picked these numbers from another group which was on WhatsApp that I was a member of as well. Picked up these numbers, and I pitched a common interest. So I did a study on my audience first. I did not, what I was trying to say, I did not send out spam to my audience. Rather, I picked audience who had a common thread of interest. Just like how we have this club, I picked audience who had a common thread of interest, and I pitched to them. So my results, I had 2 negatives, which I was able to turn around completely, make a U-turn, and made them participate. Because I went specifically to them, and I turned around their interest from speaking to an unknown person or an unknown entity. I brought it in to familiarity. And then I had very positive responses. All the I had about 6 or 7 people. No, I think about 8 people were altogether. 12 people responded. 2 were negative. Then about 8 people were okay. They just responded. They gave me a thumbs up and said okay. But the other 2 or 3 were very interested, active, and became very live participants, very active participants in the whole process. So this was my result. So let's say the response rate. So I always go by these numbers. So I thought the response rate was about 6%. I made a I got positive responses, active responses of about 2%. No, 1%. I got positive responses about 2%. So this helped me understand the effectiveness of the channel that I was using. This is part of my market survey. This is part of my understanding my market. So going back to the same, solving a problem requires first an understanding of the problem, the villain. You have to understand, find the villain. The next thing is to understand what are the efforts that have been made so far by others to solve the same problem. Next, to understand your market, what is the actual demand and what is the supply? Is there, are we in an unsaturated market? Am I in a saturated market? Am I in an oversaturated market? Then I look at what is the best way to communicate my message to my audience. Now, there are other business opportunities where you can't do this kind of mass marketing. You can't just go out to 285 people or 5,000 people or 10,000 people. You can only go one to one. Now, all this goes before you fund your project. All this goes before you go looking for investment, because this is the process that will help you understand how much value am I going to build. How much value am I going to build with this solution? By finding a solution to this particular problem, how much value am I going to build by handling this villain? How many people want me to handle this villain? If I know that, if I know how I'm going to handle this villain, how I'm going to take this hero to the market, then you have a hero. Then you start sponsoring your hero. Then you start looking for funds. Then you start looking for, very often, I talk to a lot of people. So very often I've heard this from people, especially people who are into sales, who are effective salesmen, who are nice salesmen, who have been fortunate to build a good clientele. I've heard a lot of them say, "Oh, I can sell anything. I can sell anything." Yes, probably they can sell anything. But before you sell anything, oh, Roger's trying to join. It's nice.
You have to know if the customer needs what you're selling.
Before, yes, you need to know all these steps, all these stages before you actually get in and say, yes, this is the solution that I'm going to make money on. Because if you don't step back and look at what is already there, then you don't know where you're putting your foot in. This is true about every aspect of life, not just in business. Before you get into anything, you have to step back, have a look at where you're putting your foot. And this exactly is what works before you go looking for funding. Because if you are looking for funding, someone who's already got funds that they can, surplus funds that they can invest with you, they are not going to give it to you so easily. They are going to ask you questions. They are going to poke holes into every single thing, every single word that you mention. And you are accountable. So if you want to be accountable, if you want to be legitimate, if you want people to invest into you, then the most important thing is that you have to be in that sector, in that industry, in that venture, in every single atom aspect of that venture before you step out and meet someone for investment. And most of the cases, if you are so deep into your homework, I can guarantee you, you will find people looking for you to invest with you because you sound so credible. Every time we speak about something, it is about your passion. It is about how deep you have already been in that subject. So if you want to sound legitimate, if you want to appear legitimate, if you want to be genuine, then you have to have your homework done. And this exactly is your homework. This is what I see. This is what I've experienced. I could be, somebody could have a different opinion. Somebody could have a variation. But this is where I come from. This is what I have been doing. And this is what I can share with you because this is my experience. So before you go looking for funding, consider, have I done enough homework? Something very interesting happened when I was here about a year ago, and I was studying the education sector. So I did my research on education sector. I was trying to launch robotics education in schools. And unfortunately, that whole venture is held up right now because we don't have students going to school anymore these days because of the pandemic. So everything has moved online, and we are now trying to move everything online with not as much efficiency, but still to be in the game, to be an early player in the game. So I did my study, I did my research, I made an Excel sheet, I put in all my numbers, I made multiple sheets, which because you know there are a lot of stakeholders. So there's a company that provides me technology. There's a company that I have formed, which is into sales and marketing and sales of this the package, the educational package. Then there are the schools which have to make the investment into the lab and things like that. And then there are engineers who will go to these schools, who will be appointed in schools and will be teaching this the subject. Then there's investors who would come in and who would be looking for value. There's the landlord who is going to provide us the space to set up our sample lab. So there were a lot of stakeholders in the whole project. So we had multiple sheets and we had them all interconnected. So if you changed one value, it was so deeply studied that if you made a change in one small value, if you change the salary of cleaning staff, you would know how much it would impact you in the next 3 years. And it was that well done. And we took this to the chartered accountant. So he was the guy who was supposed to make the presentation. He was the one who was supposed, in fact, he was the one who was supposed to make the projections, but we had already done it. So we took it to the chartered accountant, and he said, "What is left in this for me to do? You've already covered everything." And the surprising thing that happened was we had to speak to a bank for funding this project. And this job was supposed to be done by the chartered accountant. He was the finance guy who was supposed to speak to the bank, who was supposed to interface with the bank and uh, communicate with them about how this could happen. The funny thing is, he said, "Oh, Roger's here." The funny thing is, he put us in front of the bank and said, "This, I will not be able to do justice to this because you have studied the subject so deeply that you will be the best person to speak to the bank, because the bank will want to know everything and I will not know anything in this subject, because compared to your involvement in this subject, my knowledge is nothing." So I'm not saying this to to tell you that I've done a good job at this. No, that is not my intent. My intention is for you to know that you have to be so involved. We only had this one meeting with the bank, and the bank was ready to fund it. Just one meeting, and the projections were good because. Hi, Roger.
Hello everybody. Hello Leo.
Welcome back to the Zoom weekends.
Thank you. I
It's
miss
been a while.
Europe.
Yes, it's been
Okay.
a while. All right. Okay, so we were just talking about how we could find funding. I'm sure, I hope you can go back to the video once it's available on YouTube. You can go back and catch up with what
For
we've
sure.
been discussing.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so this is one of those things that happens if you are deeply involved with what you're doing. And one of the ways to get involved with what you're doing is to start by knowing the technical aspects, or knowing the general technical aspects of um, the venture that you're getting into, like what Ezra is doing right now, uh, doing a course on how to get it done. Even if you do not develop the required skill, even if you do not develop the required skill to do it yourself, you will have sufficient information. If you use your opportunity of your course well, you will have sufficient opportunity to manage and interact with people who can do the technical aspects for you. Now, if you wanted to find capital, another another aspect of finding capital is being able to work with people. Now, most of us, when we think of investment, we think, I don't have the money, I don't have the funds. We put ourselves as the biggest problem before our biggest requirement and think that we cannot overcome, that we cannot climb over us. So when we look at all the problems, the first problem that we see is ourselves. We see ourselves right over there, blocking our way and telling us, like standing in front of the mirror and telling yourself, I don't have money. Now, the whole point is to use other people's money. Now, when you're using other people's money, does that mean you're taking them for a ride? Absolutely not. You are using other people's money and your sweat equity. What you put in is your talent, your skill, your time, your efforts, your ability to connect everything together. I told you about the deal that I am structuring. 5 people. Now, when I put together my ability or our ability as a company, when I put together this ability to combine 5 people and solve and manage and put the effort to solve their problem, this helps everyone and it helps me because I am putting in the ability to solve a problem for 5 people, and anything that I make, everything that I make is my reward for the complexity of the problem. If I take up a difficult assignment, I would get more rewards. If I take up a simple one, I can't expect as much. So the ability that you need to develop, skill that you need to develop, the talent that you should leverage on is the one that takes you further, deeper into a complex problem that can help you make more money. This is where capital gains come in. You're making capital gains for solving a problem with zero cash. Now, the funny thing is, if it were not for all the interactions that we do on the club, if it were not for the game, if it were not for the books that I read, I wouldn't be so confident about speaking about this. And this is why I think and I believe the janitor, the policeman, the teacher, the truck driver, the lawyer, the doctor, every single profile that you see in the game has the ability to make their exit from the rat race. Because we all have the same resources. We have the club. We are all from the club. We have the club. We talk to the same people. We have the same books. We have the same discussion. We are part of the same discussions. We have the same game. It is possible for us to build our ability, our financial IQ to a level where you can make. Now, I know in the game we do a lot of many people have different strategies. Even Kim Kiyosaki, when in her video, she says people have different strategies. It can, all these strategies can take you out of the rat race. But there is a reason why I follow my strategy. I always chase the big deals. I always borrow money, leverage, cover my paydays with borrowed cash, and I move forward because I'm confident of the deals that I do. I'm confident of my observation of the game. Now, if I find a limited partnership opportunity after the market card has already come through, after the market card has already come through, I don't take it, because I remember that I've already seen the market card for the limited partnership deals. It wouldn't be beneficial for me. And this can happen in real life also. You have to be observant of what is going on in your market. If there is a plot of land which would be good for a supermarket, and in another 200, 300 meters away, there is a great supermarket which is doing really well, my only option would be to relocate this existing supermarket to this one in a bigger style, not to bring a new player over here. Because for me, it would be very difficult to convince the value of this new of putting up a supermarket 200 meters away from the existing great market share supermarket. It is a great location. It has great visibility, but the other guy already has great market share. So everything that you see in the game is connected. This could be this is just an example that I use, but this can happen everywhere. This can happen even at a job. If the company has newly hired a very efficient, or let's say, if the company, let's look at this way. You work in a company and the company has just outsourced its graphic designing to somebody, to an agency, to an external agency. The company has already outsourced the graphic designing, the logo creations, the marketing campaign creation, the poster creations, everything to a separate company. And you are a great graphics designer. If you are if you're trying to get a job in that company, and the company has already outsourced all their designs, it would be better for you to go to the agency rather than go to the company and say, I'm a great graphic designer. Because the company doesn't need a great graphic designer anymore. What they need is someone who is a great manager, who can manage outsourcing the work and getting it back. So that opportunity, the window of opportunity is closed. So you have to upskill yourself to become a manager, or you can only go and join the agency. You can approach the agency and say, okay, now I know that you've got a great contract, big contract from one of these guys. I know you need more people. I'm a great graphics designer. I have this kind of track record, and I would like to join your team and help you grow. Now, if you notice, even the language that I've used to communicate with an employer is different from the language that most people would use to communicate to an employer. I have in my when I was in Dubai and I had my business in Dubai, I have received a lot of CVs. I've received a lot of resumes from people, and it always said, "Please consider me for any suitable post." And that for me was the most funny thing to write in a job application. Because if you do not know what you're looking for, if you do not know what kind of value you can add to your employer, then the employer is not the one who will look and research for the kind of value that you can add. Instead, I always entertained people who would say, I've done this in my previous job. I have achieved these results in my previous job. I am moving because I want to take up a better challenge. This is where value is created. This is where value is communicated. So when you communicate value, whether it is in a job, whether it is in a business venture, so the first thing before you would ask for investment is to clarify what is the value that I'm building. And to find out what is the value that I'm building, who is my hero? What is his worth? This is exactly where everything that we discussed comes into picture. Let's recap. The first thing of making money is to find your villain. Find your villain. Second, find who has been fighting your villain until now. What is their progress? What is happening in this market already? Three, find your battlefield. Find your battlefield. Are you in a saturated market? Are you in an unsaturated market? Are you in an oversaturated market? Find your battlefield. Then you go looking for your hero. Because your hero will change according to your battlefield. If you have a lot of pawns in your battlefield, if you have people who are fighting each other on the ground, then your hero has to come on a horse. If you have people fighting on horses, then your hero has to come from the sky. So you need to know your battlefield. You need to know up to your battlefield before you can introduce your hero. Once you have your hero, then you can ask for him to be sponsored. Once you have your hero, once you know all this behind, that is when you can tell people, tell others, this is my hero, support him. Now that is where value is created. That is where people would be happy to join you, and then you would be able to work together with people, work together on other people's money, work together to create value for everyone. This is where you leverage. This is how you have control on your leverage. Right, guys, time's up. And at least for once, we should be able to close nicely, not abruptly. So, who wants to add something?
Yeah, those great discussions that you mentioned. So yeah, we definitely have to at least see if we can continue this discussion and see how we can put things into action. Basically, so action is one of the most important steps as well.
All right, I have a homework for every one of you. That's three of us. I mean, three of you, four of us who've been here from the beginning, plus Roger who joined. Roger can do this after watching the video, but I want every one of you, and this is my suggestion, and there is a purpose behind it. I want every one of you to summarize independently, each of you by yourselves, every one of you independently, summarize what we have discussed, what you have understood, and what decision you have taken. Put it in the club chat. Is that challenging enough?
Yeah, we have to try at least do our best. See how it works.
So summarize everything that we have discussed, summarize what you have understood, summarize or connect it to a decision that you have made or a choice. Put it in the club chat. Does that work for you, Ezra? Okay, you're muted. We can't hear you. Looks like he's on a call. Okay. Vicky, how does that work for you?
I'll try to do it.
Okay, Ezra says it's noisy over there. Okay, you can put it in the chat and I can read it out for you as well. All right, yes, that's very encouraging, Ezra. Roger,
Yes, me
you
too.
have you have twice as much to do. You have to first watch the video and then make your choices. Unfortunately, you did not have the opportunity of participating in the discussion, but at least you have the opportunity of watching the discussion from here and posting it back.
Okay.
All right, excellent. So that's a good day, and that's the end of our Zoom weekend. I hope you all had fun.
Great guys, great time guys. So yeah, let's do another one next week. Sure.
Excellent. So